If you already have a Christmas tree at home, you might be wondering, how do you make sure your tree stays looking great until Christmas Day? We've still got a couple weeks left. There are plenty of myths, of course, about some home remedies, everything from aspirin to hairspray. The question is, do they work? Benjamin Carroll from the Chicago Botanic Garden is here to bust some of these myths and also tell us how to pick that perfect tree. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning.
Tell me a little bit about what people should look for when they go to the tree
It's a really
line.
good question. I know when you go, there's so many options out there. And what do you look for? Well, first of all, you look for something that, obviously is aesthetically pleasing to you. So something that's kind of full all the way around. There's usually a front and a back. Sometimes you'll find a little hole in it, but if you're going to put it against a wall, that's going to be the back, not a problem. And then also look for a healthy, fresh tree, and that's the best way to start to have a tree that's going to last you throughout the season. So pull your hands through the branches and make sure that no needles come off.
So none at all should come off. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, especially, I mean, if there's some brown ones, then that's okay, but any green ones should not come off. Also, bend the branches and make sure that they're bendable. If they just snap off, then it's a tree that's probably already getting dry and already on its way to being done.
And you should also think about the type of tree. We just cut ours down yesterday in Indiana, and there's what, half a dozen different types of trees they sell. And depending on what types of ornaments you have, it makes a difference about the strength. Right,
and also the length of the needles. Some people like really tight needles, and some people like longer needles, like the Scots pine. So yeah, it's a really nice selection. And then also, when you buy it, they oftentimes will offer to cut the bottom of the trunk off, and that's really what you want to do. You want to make sure you're getting some fresh tissue because the sap has already kind of covered up the tissue that can take up the water. So make a nice fresh cut and then get it right into water right away. And that's a really important thing. So when you're putting your tree in, make sure you've got a lot of space for water to take up for the tree to take up, because the first day alone the tree can take up to a gallon of water because it's been sitting out, so it's already getting dry. So fresh tissue, get lots of water on it, and don't let it dry out. If it dries out, you're back to the stage where you need to cut it again. And if you got ornaments and lights on it, it's really hard to do. So always keep moisture, or always keep water in the tree stand. And also keep it away from any kind of direct heating ducts, so you don't have airflow on it.
Don't put a vent underneath it. It'll give you all sorts of problems.
Absolutely, yeah. So the myths, bleach, aspirin, 7-Up, doesn't really do anything.
Really?
No, the real key is making sure that you have lots of moisture available for the plant, and it's going to look great throughout the season.
But some of these have been found to work slightly better than others.
They do. They say, like the bleach, for example, you lose less needles, but the tree looks really sick by the end of it. So it doesn't look good, although you retain the needles, but it doesn't look good.
What's the point if it doesn't look good? Right.
Absolutely.
How do these myths get started? And do you encounter a lot of people who come up to you at the Botanic Garden and say, hey, I try this, and claim it works?
In fact, we did a little survey at the garden and asked a lot of the colleagues, and people came up with exactly these remedies. And well, they claim it works, but really they have done tests on it, and it doesn't really help an awful lot.
None of these work better than the control of just keeping it.
Really, like I said, the bleach does hold on the needles a little bit longer, but it makes the tree look sick, so what's the point?
Gotcha.
Hairspray, don't do it because it is another fire hazard, and we want to make sure everyone's safe for the holidays.
Yeah, the study found that hairspray does make it look a little bit better, holds it together, but then...
Flammable.
Yeah, so
fire hazard.
You have a great looking tree, but your house will burn down.
Exactly, not so good.
And then the other thing you want to tell people about is how they can do some great projects to spice up, Costco and all these places sell all these pre-made wreaths that look good but also look all the same.
Exactly. You can buy a really simple wreath, and if you want, you can take off the kind of sometimes horrible looking ribbon and then add some of the things that you find around the garden. I just added some milkweed that I glue gunned together into little clusters, and bought a few berries at the florist, or something that you find in the garden, and just put it in to make it your own. The same thing you can do with containers as well. So any of the summer containers that you had growing your annuals in, take those out. Well, those will be out by now. And then once they thaw, go ahead and add your own greens, which you can also buy when you go to buy your trees. You can get a cluster of greens and add those with some things that you just find around the garden. Some grasses, red-stemmed dogwoods, some hydrangeas. Put it in and make it look really nice.
And if you buy these things and aren't going to get to it for a day or two, is it best to leave the winter stuff outside? Don't bring it into the house.
That's a really good point. Actually, temperature is a really important aspect or element when you're trying to keep everything looking fresh. Keep it cool. And the cooler you keep it,
natural environment.
Yeah, and the cooler you keep it, the longer it'll last.
Any other great tips that you can think of? People who don't normally think, oh, you know, I can use the scraps or little branches that fall off my tree for decor in
yeah,
like a little plate.
Absolutely. Well, that's the great thing is be creative because there is so many things out in your garden right now that you can go and cut. I mean, for example, I just cut a piece of the boxwood, and that's just something really simple, and you can cut pieces together and tie them into little bunches. Be creative and just use what you have in your garden or what's out there and make your
in your neighbor's garden.
In your neighbor's garden, and make your house look very festive.
Great. You guys have a great program for the holidays coming up.
We do. We have Wonderland Express, which is a fantastic event that we have where we have a bunch of trains. We've got a bunch of flowers that look really great, some poinsettias. The garden is lit up with thousands and thousands of lights. It looks really pretty. It's a great event.
All right, Benjamin Carroll from the Chicago Botanic Garden, thank you so much for joining us.